Hi, Internet. This is Morgan's first ever live podcast. Thank you for joining in. I hope somebody's come to visit. Hi. This is going to be my AuthorTube Newbie Tag. I'm doing this in honor of my second anniversary on YouTube as an author tuber that has not connected at all with the community that I just found 2 weeks ago. So, hi, AuthorTube community. Y'all have been so welcoming, even if I may have joined in the middle of some drama. So, as part of my officially joining the AuthorTube community, I wanted to go ahead and answer some of those AuthorTube newbie questions. So thanks everybody who's tuning in. So yay, thank you, DL. So the first question from the AuthorTube newbie hashtag 2, or I don't even remember what it's called, is what is my book pitch? So let's see if I can get this right. When Lilivan finds the demonic writing on her stomach, she knows that her jealousy of her sister has caused her goddess to forsake her. Lilivan's on the run before the temple can find out, until she learns that her sister might be in danger from the temple as well. Little wordy, I've got shorter versions, but you get the gist. So, secondly, if I were a book, how would I pitch myself? Well, I'm a person. I don't actually have a plot. I have a life. So I guess it's more of a description. I'd probably go with enthusiastic yet earnest. Morgan does her best to surround herself with supportive and helpful people no matter the circumstances. Because I do. I try to avoid drama. I try to avoid the negative, and I try to focus on what I can do and what I can make happen. So it's cheesy, but it's really where I am. So, okay. Question number 3. What do I usually write? Fantasy. I read urban fantasy a lot. I read science fiction. I read fantasy. I read almost every genre. I enjoy the occasional cozy, etc. But when I write, the stories that are in my head are fantasy. My primary work in progress is a second world fantasy. So it's a fantasy not set on Earth, or an alternate version of Earth. My world has 2 moons and its own religions and planets and that sort of thing. I do have a couple other rough drafts. One is the sequel to that, and one is a gender-bent Robin Hood. When Robin never made it back from the wars, his half-sister, Scarlet, goes undercover with the help of her friend Mary to save the family lands. And I have a contemporary fantasy middle school adventure. In a world where what you read affects the world around you. Gom really wishes his mother wasn't a writer, and if she has to be, maybe she could stop editing and changing his world, where his friend Midgie loves it. And I was writing a middle school adventure, and I was trying to get in the middle school mindset, and all I could think of was Wishbone. So somehow this whole concept turned into a middle school theater drama story. So that was a lot of fun. So to sum up, I write fantasy. All genres within the fantasy realm, but fantasy. Question number 4 is, what is something you'll never write? Well, I'll never say never, but I don't think I'm dark and twisted enough to do like a political machinations or thrillers. Procedurals aren't really, I'll read them, I'll enjoy them, but aren't really my strong suit. Despite last week's post on CSI Fantasy Edition, I thought it would be helpful for y'all, maybe not so much for me. but never say never. So next question, what is my goal for starting an AuthorTube channel? Well, I've had a blog for several years, and in it I share writing tips and writerly musings. And most of the tips are things I get from professional writers. I attend local science fiction and fantasy conventions, and while I'm there, my sister likes to joke that I'm trying to recertify as a writer because I attend a lot of panels. At my last convention, Memorial Day weekend, I went to Balticon and I attended over 24 hours of programming in 2 half days and 2 full days. I did get some sleep, but I'm slowly sharing out the notes on my channel. And so I am doing the AuthorTube because I want to connect with other writers. I want to form a community and I want to find other people who are in the same places in their writing adventure and help each other, encourage each other, and join with them in the adventure towards publication and adoring fans and awards and chocolate or whatever you get when you win as an author. So what made me start writing is question number 6. I had a dream. I've wanted to be a writer since I was a small child, but I knew I would need a day job. So I got that day job and forgot about the writing for a while. But I had a dream and it had a couple snippets and I didn't know how they connected or who was involved or how it turned out at the end. And I am a very plot-driven person. I needed to know what happened. And I really wanted to know who these people were. And because it was a dream snippet of mine, if I don't write the story, I will never find out what happened or who it happened to or any of that stuff. So that's why I write, so I can find out what happens. Sometimes in some of my other stuff, I write to answer the question, what if? I wanted to explore my reading changes your world in a middle school because I didn't want to deal with the adult complications that could go into that and the machinations that I'm sure sinister people would do. Luckily, I'm not sinister, so I didn't feel ready to address that. So yeah, I write for me. So question number 7 is, what is my publishing path? Well, right now I have 3 rough drafts and 1 polished manuscript, and I have queried it about 35, 40 times. And every time I get a batch of rejections or a form letter no on a revise and resubmit, I do another round of revisions. I'm currently about the third of the way through my 8th round of revisions. I didn't start querying until like round 5, so it's not that bad. So currently I am trying for traditional publication. I'm not ruling out self-publication, but I feel until I can get more interest that this really means that my writing isn't ready yet. And I want it to be the best writing that I can possibly make happen before I introduce it to the world. I don't want to look back at it and be embarrassed. I want to be proud of it. And I want it not just to be a fun read, which I think it already is, but I want it to be one of the stories that resonates. I want it to be somebody's favorite book. That's the dream. So question 8, what content do I bring to the AuthorTube table? Well, I already went over this a little, but I try to keep it real. I share information from panels, and I also talk about my own writing experience. I talk about the struggles. I talk about goal setting. I talk about me figuring something out again, like showing versus telling. You always hear it, and then you run across an instance and you fix it and it feels awesome seeing how much better it's improved. So I guess sometimes I brag, yay, my writing's going well. And sometimes I talk about, ooh, it's really hard to, go forward. And a lot of times I do share tips from panels for people who cannot attend conventions or choose not to. So, next up, what is my biggest writer struggle in my writing? Um, I think a lot of times my biggest struggle is whatever I'm actively working on at the time, because that other stage went so well, clearly. Um, but I think one of the things I struggle with is getting out of the main character's head. I'm very focused on what my main character is thinking, wanting, feeling, and maybe less observant on the world around her. Or him. So next question is, um, whoop, did I skip one? Nope. Okay. What is my best writing skill? I think that I feel that I'm a solid world builder. I might not show it all the time with description, but I feel that when you read my story, you can feel the sense of a world that is different from ours, and the technology and the history and the fact that things didn't just get created the second you stepped in there, and that there's background things happening not seen on camera, and just a well-rounded universe. So next up is, if I'm new to AuthorTube, what is my AuthorTube question? Or if I've been on AuthorTube for a while, what is my best AuthorTube tip? Well, I'm kind of both. So I'm going to go with the first or the second and say, apparently my biggest AuthorTube tip would be to reach out. Don't go this alone. It's a community, and don't be afraid to actually talk to people. My involvement in the AuthorTube community reminds me of when I used to go to salsa dancing at this one place. I would dance one dance with each of the people there. And after about a year and a half, I started actually introducing myself and saying hi, not just making eye contact, nodding, and then doing a dance and moving on to the next person. I feel like it's time to get in here and make friends. And I'm looking forward to meeting all of you. So next up is, am I looking for new channels to follow, betas, critique partners, or other types of writer buddies? I actually run a couple support groups on Facebook for Pitch Warrior hopefuls. So if you have or plan to participate in Pitch Wars, look me up, and I'm very happy to introduce you to our community and give you the support there. Currently, I I don't want my writing to have another critique, because I don't think I could face another round of edits after this one. But I'm sure I'll get to that point. So I'm not looking for any beta readers or critique partners right now, but I am looking for other writers who have finished their novels, who are querying, who are doing those round of revisions and fighting the good fight. And I want to connect and, support each other and be there for each other as we go through these stages together. Um, so, and why is my thing not scrolling? I'm sorry. So what am I most excited about during this new fresh start on ArthurTube? I am a bit excited about connecting and finding the right audience for me, so I don't feel like I'm talking to myself. Although I do have a few very faithful fans, and I definitely appreciate each and every one of you that I can count on my fingers and toes. But I'm also hoping to connect with more writers out there, and to share in this journey with them. So thank you for tuning in for my first live event, and I hope I didn't ramble too much. So thanks, and bye-bye. There we go. Bye. Okay, I figured out how to end the stream.